America is the best country in the world. And it's not because we're perfect, but it's because if you have a dream in this country, you can set out to accomplish it. Not many other places you can accomplish what you set your mind to. And that's why I love America, and that's why I believe in this America.
America is the greatest country ever to exist. Most productive, most accepting, most generous, most benevolent.
What if the country Britain was taught to question became the one it could not stop missing? Across the Atlantic, people mocked America's size, noise, and confidence, until they experienced its warmth, freedom, and everyday generosity for themselves. Why are so many British visitors returning home with a completely different story? And what if the most lovable parts of America are the very things Americans have grown too used to notice? America won them over. The first surprise was not the stadium, the skyline, or even the scale of the roads. It was the way America spoke to people. Europe had been shown a country that looked permanently angry with itself. Every headline seemed to arrive wearing a flashing red light. Every television debate sounded like the nation was 5 minutes from falling apart. Then the World Cup brought British visitors into American airports, restaurants, neighborhoods, fan zones, and ordinary streets, where the picture became far less dramatic and more human. In London, silence on the underground is almost a form of public etiquette. You can stand shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of people and still protect the sacred British right to pretend nobody else exists. In Manchester, strangers may happily talk football, but usually after the match has given them a reason. America often skips that waiting period. A cashier asks where you're from, a volunteer gives directions and 3 restaurant recommendations, and somebody in a team jersey starts a conversation as if you have been neighbors since the Clinton administration. That friendliness can look small on camera, yet it changes the entire mood of a trip. A foreign visitor stops feeling like a customer and begins feeling like a guest. The difference matters because American warmth is often casual rather than ceremonial. Nobody rolls out a carpet. They simply make room at the table, explain how the parking works, and insist that you try the barbecue before forming any serious opinion about the country. This was where the old media image began losing its grip. The America people had been warned about was loud, suspicious, and divided. The America standing in front of them was handing out bottled water, helping families find their seats, laughing with rival supporters, and treating a global tournament like the world had been invited over for the weekend. There is something deeply American about that. The country does not always realize how generous its everyday culture can feel to outsiders. In Britain, warmth is often hidden beneath understatement, dry humor, and a carefully controlled facial expression. In the United States, it walks over, shakes your hand, and asks whether you have eaten yet. Perhaps that explains why so many British fans began speaking about staying longer, returning soon, or imagining daily life there. The attraction was not built on perfection. It came from discovering that ordinary American life carried more ease, humor, and openness than the warning labels had ever admitted. By the time the match ended, the score was no longer the only thing people remembered. They remembered the stranger who helped with a bag, the family who shared a table, the server who turned a quick meal into a conversation, and the feeling that America was far easier to love in person than it had ever looked from across the Atlantic. That is how affection begins. Not with a speech, but with a welcome so natural that the host barely notices it happened. America became the stadium. The moment the tournament map appeared, Britain probably needed to unfold a second table. FIFA's 2026 format spread 104 matches across 16 host cities in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, with 11 American host markets carrying most of the schedule. The United States received 78 games, more than the entire 64-match format used at each Men's World Cup from 1998 through 2022. For British fans used to London, Manchester, Liverpool, and Birmingham as major stops on one compact island, the American version resembled a football calendar with an airline account. That scale could have become exhausting, yet it quickly became part of the attraction for many visitors. America has spent generations learning how to move crowds across enormous distances. Airports connect cities that feel like separate countries. Interstate highways run for hundreds of miles, and rental car culture turns a match ticket into an excuse for a road trip. A supporter can watch football in New York, eat barbecue in Texas, and finish the journey beneath California palm trees without ever leaving the same nation. In Britain, driving from London to Manchester covers roughly 200 miles. In America, that distance can feel like the opening credits. The comparison becomes even clearer in Texas, which is nearly 3 times the size of the entire United Kingdom. A British traveler can cross several regions, hear different accents, and still discover that the navigation app has barely moved its little blue dot. Yet the country makes this giant scale surprisingly usable, and that convenience creates a special kind of tournament fever. Service stations resemble small towns, highways are built for long journeys, parking lots can swallow a British retail park, and roadside food arrives with enough options to delay a family for an entire halftime show. The event does not remain trapped behind stadium gates for long. It spills onto highways, hotel lobbies, diners, airports, and downtown plazas. Every journey between matches becomes another chapter, which is why the experience can feel so addictive. Fans are never simply traveling to the next game. They are collecting versions of America along the way. That is the cultural difference worth noticing beneath all the spectacle. European football culture often grows from density, local history, and cities packed closely together, while America adds distance, motion, and possibility. The space between venues becomes part of the entertainment, like a halftime show stretched across several states. Media coverage often presents American size as wasteful or inconvenient, but living inside that scale tells a warmer story. The room creates choice, the roads create independence, and the distances keep curiosity alive. What looked excessive from Britain begins to feel generous once every mile offers another city, another meal, and another reason to stay. By the end of the journey, the World Cup does something unexpected. It turns America's vastness from a statistic into an emotion, and many visitors discover that freedom can sometimes look exactly like a full tank, an open highway, and one more match waiting beyond the horizon. America tamed the heat. The most persuasive American invention at the World Cup may not be visible on the field. It waits behind hotel doors, supermarket entrances, airport corridors, and restaurant windows, humming quietly while summer outside tries to cook the sidewalk. For British visitors, that background hum can feel almost luxurious. Britain's climate never forced air conditioning into everyday life on the same scale. So many older homes, pubs, schools, and parts of the transport network still rely on open windows, portable fans, and a national willingness to discuss the heat every 7 minutes. Government estimates have placed air conditioning in fewer than 5% of British homes, while data from the United States Energy Information Administration shows that close to 90% of American households use it. That contrast matters during a tournament hosted through June and July. Cities such as Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Miami do not treat summer as a charming seasonal suggestion. Heat arrives with authority, humidity joins the meeting without being invited, and the sun behaves like it has purchased naming rights. America answered that challenge by building reliable indoor comfort into ordinary life. The cultural surprise reaches far beyond a simple difference in temperature. In much of Europe, comfort is often something people adapt toward carefully because historic buildings, compact streets, and older infrastructure limit what can be changed. In the United States, comfort is more often treated as a practical service that should already be waiting. The airport is cooled, the rideshare is cooled, the hotel lobby is cooled, and the grocery store dairy aisle occasionally feels prepared to preserve a woolly mammoth. That consistency becomes strangely addictive because it removes a layer of effort from the day. As supporters can spend hours outside, move through crowded fan zones, and then step indoors without carrying the weather into every meal or conversation. Nobody needs to perform the British summer ritual of sitting beside a tiny fan while insisting the room will improve after sunset. Media stories sometimes frame American energy use as pure excess, and the environmental debate around cooling is important. Yet the lived experience also reveals why Americans value it so strongly. Air conditioning protects older adults, helps people sleep, keeps businesses operating, and turns severe summer heat from a daily obstacle into something manageable. In a nation where several World Cup regions regularly face temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, cooling is less like decoration and more like public armor. That is the moment when admiration quietly begins replacing easy mockery. What once looked like another oversized American habit begins to feel thoughtful, dependable, and deeply humane. The United States has a talent for making comfort available without demanding that visitors earn it first. By the time British supporters return to a warm bedroom back home, the memories may include goals, crowds, and enormous highways. Yet somewhere between midnight and the third failed attempt to cool the pillow, they may also miss that soft American hum, the sound of a country that decided summer was welcome outside, but did not automatically receive permission to enter the building. The parking lot party. The first cultural surprise happens before kickoff, when British supporters discover that Americans have somehow turned a parking lot into a national celebration. Back home, matchday energy usually gathers in pubs, train stations, narrow streets, and the walk toward the ground. The ritual is dense, loud, and rooted in place. In the United States, the party often begins beside an SUV with the trunk open, a grill smoking, folding chairs spread out, and enough food to make the actual game look like an optional second course. What appears to be parking has quietly become a temporary neighborhood. That is the genius of tailgating. It removes the invisible wall between spectator and event. People cook, trade food, play cornhole, debate lineups, and welcome strangers wearing the wrong colors with the cheerful suspicion normally reserved for a cousin who supports the rival team. The stadium may hold the official contest, but the parking lot handles the human part. The scale makes the habit even more striking. The University of Michigan lists Michigan Stadium's capacity at 107,601, while Wembley Stadium holds 90,000. One American college ground can therefore accommodate Wembley's entire crowd and still have room for more than 17,000 additional fans, roughly the population of a small British town arriving late with barbecue sauce. Several other college stadiums also exceed 100,000 seats, which helps explain why Americans treat crowd management, food, parking, and pre-game entertainment like a branch of civil engineering. British football culture has its own unmatched magic, especially when generations of families follow the same club through rain, disappointment, and the occasional season that tests the meaning of loyalty. American sports culture adds another pleasure: participation without needing an invitation. A visitor can arrive knowing very little, accept a paper plate from somebody's uncle, learn 3 chants, and feel absorbed into the day before the gates even open. This is where the experience becomes addictive. Tailgating stretches a 90-minute match into an entire social occasion, while the hours before kickoff stop feeling like waiting. America understands that anticipation deserves its own stage. The grill smoke, team flags, coolers, music, lawn games, and friendly arguments create a kind of outdoor living room, except the neighbors number in the thousands, and somebody has brought a smoker the size of a British hatchback. European coverage often presents American sport as polished entertainment built around screens, sponsorships, and spectacle. Standing inside the culture reveals something warmer. Beneath the production sits an old-fashioned instinct to gather, feed people, share space, and turn strangers into temporary friends. For visitors accustomed to treating the journey as logistics, this generosity changes the emotional rhythm completely. The day expands, conversation comes easily, and supporting a team becomes less about proving loyalty than enjoying the people gathered around it. By kickoff, the British affection for America is already fully cooked. The game still matters naturally, but the real discovery happened outside, where a patch of asphalt became a community, and nobody thought this was unusual enough to explain. America never closes. At some point during a long tournament day, football fans stop looking for culture and start looking for food. That usually happens around 11:47 p.m. When the match is over, the voice is gone, and dinner has somehow become a packet of peanuts purchased beside Gate 32. This is where America performs one of its most persuasive little miracles. The country still has options. Late-night diners keep their lights on, drive-through windows continue passing out hot meals, convenience stores sell everything from coffee to phone chargers, and some supermarkets remain open long after a British high street has pulled up the blankets. America seems to understand that hunger does not check the clock before arriving, especially when thousands of supporters have just spent 2 hours shouting at a referee. The contrast becomes especially clear on Sundays. Under official rules in England and Wales, large shops measuring more than 280 square meters may open for only 6 continuous hours between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Scotland does not apply the same restriction, but across much of Britain, Sunday shopping still carries the quiet feeling that everyone should finish quickly, because the country would like to put the kettle on and close early. The United States has no comparable federal limit, although opening hours vary by state, city, and business. That difference sounds administrative until someone experiences it at midnight. American convenience creates a strange emotional comfort because it leaves room for imperfect plans. A delayed flight does not automatically cancel dinner. A late match does not force everyone back to the hotel with vending machine crackers. A family can discover that somebody forgot toothpaste at 1 a.m. without treating the mistake like the opening scene of a survival documentary. This availability is often described as consumer excess, yet that explanation misses why visitors become attached to it. Extended hours give people flexibility, especially shift workers, travelers, parents, and anyone whose day refuses to follow office hours. The lights in a diner are doing more than advertising pancakes. They're quietly saying that the day is still recoverable. Britain has wonderful late-night traditions of its own, from kebab shops in Manchester to curry houses in Birmingham, and chip shops feeding crowds after closing time. America simply spreads that sense of possibility across a wider range of ordinary needs. Coffee, medicine, groceries, breakfast, fuel, and a cheeseburger large enough to negotiate its own mortgage may all remain available under the same glowing roadside sign. That reliability becomes hard to forget after several weeks. Visitors begin planning less defensively because they know the country has left a door open somewhere. There is always another booth, another counter, another place where somebody is pouring coffee as though midnight were merely an interesting suggestion. Perhaps that is why America becomes so difficult to leave. It gives people something more seductive than luxury: permission to live without constantly watching the clock. 30,000 temptations. Britain did not lose its composure at the stadium. It lost it somewhere between aisle 12 and a refrigerator door wide enough to display half the state of Wisconsin. American supermarkets reveal a side of the country that headlines rarely capture. Abundance turned into an everyday experience. Walmart says the average supercenter covers about 178,000 square feet, roughly 3 American football fields under one roof. Industry surveys have also placed the assortment in a typical US supermarket at more than 30,000 products. That means a visitor can enter looking for milk and emerge 40 minutes later comparing 7 kinds of ranch dressing, 12 versions of iced coffee, and a family-sized cereal box that appears ready to raise the children itself. During a World Cup summer, even grocery shopping becomes sightseeing. Britain certainly has large stores, particularly Tesco Extra, Sainsbury's superstores, and suburban retail parks. Yet many British grocery habits were shaped by smaller kitchens, denser towns, and more frequent shopping trips. In London, a neighborhood supermarket may be designed around what people can carry onto the tube. In suburban America, the cart seems designed around the possibility that Thanksgiving might happen unexpectedly on a Tuesday. The deeper attraction, however, comes from having choices without ever feeling embarrassed about wanting them. American retail culture assumes that personal preference deserves shelf space. Shoppers can choose the flavor, size, sugar level, spice level, protein content, packaging style, and occasionally what emotional support the snack should provide. A bottle of barbecue sauce is rarely allowed to remain a bottle of barbecue sauce. It must represent Kansas City, Texas, Carolina bourbon, honey, smoke, heat, or a man named Bubba whose face suggests he has strong opinions about brisket. From the outside, this abundance may be dismissed as excess, yet from inside the aisle it feels more like permission. People are invited to build daily life around their own tastes instead of accepting the one version somebody decided was sufficient. That sense of control becomes strangely comforting during a long stay, because even ordinary errands carry a small promise that the right option is probably waiting somewhere nearby. These stores also possess a remarkable talent for turning ordinary necessity into genuine discovery. A British shopper may visit for bread and leave with bread, exactly as civilization intended. In an American supermarket, bread is merely the opening argument in a much larger case. The bakery leads to rotisserie chicken, the chicken points toward hot sauce, and suddenly the cart contains a cooler, a folding chair, and enough snacks to host a playoff game nobody knew was scheduled. This is why the supermarket becomes part of the love story. It reflects an American instinct to make room, provide options, and let people choose their own version of comfort. The country's generosity is visible in inches of shelf space, freezer doors, and carts built like small pickup trucks. After several weeks, returning to a compact local shop can feel oddly quiet. The milk is still there, the bread remains perfectly respectable, yet something is missing. The ridiculous, cheerful possibility that aisle 12 might contain a product nobody needed until America invented a reason to want it. America's wild encore. A football tournament can lose its audience to a canyon, and America seems completely comfortable with that risk. British supporters may arrive for the World Cup expecting stadiums, fan zones, and famous city skylines, then discover that the country has quietly placed some of the planet's most dramatic landscapes within reach of an ordinary vacation. The match becomes the headline, while the land itself keeps stealing the article. The National Park Service manages more than 400 sites across roughly 85 million acres, and 63 of those sites carry the official national park title. During 2023, those places welcome more than 325 million recreational visits, showing that wilderness here belongs comfortably inside ordinary American life for families and schoolchildren. Britain has 15 national parks, all rich with history, villages, walking routes, and landscapes that have shaped generations of British life. America offers a different relationship with nature, because the scenery often arrives at a scale that makes a smartphone camera look personally offended. Yellowstone covers nearly 3,500 square miles, which makes it more than 3 times the size of Luxembourg. Great Smoky Mountains National Park stretches across Tennessee and North Carolina, while Grand Canyon National Park presents a view so enormous that even the loudest football supporter may briefly forget to provide commentary. Somewhere nearby, an American family is probably eating sandwiches with the calm expression of people who have accepted geological majesty as a normal picnic backdrop. That casual access creates the cultural fascination. In Britain, famous landscapes such as the Lake District or Erie are woven closely around towns, farms, stone walls, and centuries of human use. American parks often create the opposite sensation, where the road bends once and civilization appears to have politely stepped outside the frame. The visitor is still protected by marked trails, ranger services, visitor centers, and carefully planned overlooks, yet the view retains enough rawness to make daily worries feel embarrassingly small. This is where America becomes difficult to leave, because the country keeps changing the emotional temperature of the trip. One day contains 70,000 people beneath stadium lights, while the next offers silence wide enough to hear wind moving through pine trees. That contrast feels almost unfair, like buying one ticket and discovering somebody accidentally included an entire continent. The deeper appeal lies in America's belief that grandeur should remain accessible. Scenic roads, campgrounds, shuttle systems, overlooks, and family facilities allow ordinary people to stand before places once reserved for explorers with questionable maps and heroic facial hair. Nature has been protected without being locked behind velvet rope, which gives national pride a physical shape that visitors can walk through. British travelers may come home remembering the winning goal, yet the image that returns unexpectedly could be a red canyon at sunset or a line of mountains beyond the highway. The World Cup introduces them to America, while the landscape quietly makes the second invitation. That invitation is dangerously simple. Stay one more day, because the horizon has not finished yet. Perhaps Britain's growing affection for America says something the headlines never could. A country is best understood through the people who welcome you, the roads that invite you onward, and the ordinary comforts you miss only after leaving. America may seem familiar from afar, yet living inside it reveals a warmth no screen can fully capture. What part of American life would you miss most? Share your answer below and subscribe to join us for more journeys beyond the stereotype.